Do you ever feel like you're just kind of floating through life? Like you're incredibly busy every single day, but somehow you're never actually getting any closer to the person you want to be? Hey, it happens to the absolutely best of us, especially around January. We all picture this brand new version of ourselves, the one who wakes up at 5 a.m., reads a book every night, and finally sticks to that gym routine. You tell yourself, okay, this time is going to be different. And for a few days, or maybe even a few weeks, it actually is. But then life happens. You miss a day, then you miss two, and before you know it, you're right back exactly where you started, scratching your head and wondering what went wrong. Well, if that sounds familiar, you are in the exact right place. Welcome to today's Explainer. We are going to dive right in and break down the actual science of building bulletproof habits.
So, here is the slightly uncomfortable truth, and I really want you to hear this. Your failure to stick to a new habit, it's not because you lack willpower, it's not because you're lazy, and it is definitely not because you lack discipline. The real problem, and honestly, the reason almost all of our resolutions fall flat, is simply that you've been using the completely wrong system to change. You are literally fighting against your own biology and psychology. But today we're going to fix that by tapping into some groundbreaking research from James Clear.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with why we fail at change, then we'll look at why we need to forget goals and build systems. After that, we'll cover the power of identity, the mechanics of habits, the 4 laws of change, and finally, how small choices create massive results.
All right, jumping into part 1, why we fail at change and the invisible trajectory. The core idea here is almost shockingly simple, but I promise it's going to completely shift how you look at your daily routine. Imagine an airplane taking off from New York and it's heading to Los Angeles. If the pilot adjusts the course by just 3 tiny degrees before takeoff, that shift means absolutely nothing in those first few minutes. You wouldn't even feel the plane turn. But if you stretch that out across the entire flight, that totally invisible 3-degree change is the difference between landing in Los Angeles or ending up in Tijuana, Mexico. Your habits work exactly the same way. The tiny choices you make every single day, the ones that feel totally pointless in the moment, are quietly setting the entire trajectory of your life. Not in a day, not in a week, but over months and years, they compound and lead you to a completely different destination.
Let's move on to part 2. Forget goals, build systems. The illusion of outcomes.
We tend to get these two things mixed up all the time. If you want to lose weight or maybe build a business, conventional wisdom always says, hey, set a really specific goal. But the research actually argues that goals are the completely wrong thing to focus on. Why? Well, think about it. Winners and losers usually have the exact same goals. Every single athlete at the Olympics wants to win the gold medal, right? The goal isn't what separates the winners from the pack. The system is. Plus, hitting a goal only changes your life for a split second. If your goal is to run a marathon, the instant you cross that finish line, poof, your motivation evaporates. You stop running, and you slip right back into old patterns. A goal is just the result you want. A system is the daily process that actually gets you there. If you focus purely on your system, you're going to reach your destination way faster, and more importantly, the change will actually stick.
That brings us to part 3, the power of identity, rewiring who you are. So, most of us try to change from the outside in. We say things like, I want to lose 10 kilos, or I want to write a book. But true, lasting change, that happens way down at the identity level. Your true goal shouldn't be to run a marathon, it should be to become a runner. The goal isn't to learn the guitar, it's to become a musician. Why? Because every single action you take is literally a vote for the type of person you wish to become. You go to the gym, bam, you just cast a vote for I am an athlete. You sit down and write just one single paragraph, you're casting a vote for I am a writer. Look, no single vote is going to transform you overnight, obviously, but as those votes pile up, your belief in who you actually are starts to fundamentally shift. Okay, let's hit part 4, the mechanics of habits, programming the brain. Every habit you have runs on this continuous 4-step neurological loop. Let's look at a super relatable example. Your phone buzzes on the table. That's the cue. Instantly, you want to know who just messaged you. That is the craving. You pick up the phone and unlock it. That's the response. And finally, you see who texted you. That's the reward. Cue, craving, response, reward. If you repeat that rapid-fire loop enough times, your brain puts it on completely automatic pilot. You don't even realize you're doing it anymore. Now, this is exactly how we build terrible habits, like endless doom scrolling. But here's the magic. It's also exactly how you can engineer incredibly good habits just by taking control of those 4 steps. Which leads us perfectly into part 5, the 4 laws of change, your toolkit for success. James Clear basically takes that complex brain science and distills it into 4 overarching laws. To build any good habit, you just need to do 4 things. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. Let's keep this momentum going and look at exactly how to use each of these in your real life.
Law 1, make it obvious. Did you know researchers estimate that nearly half of everything we do every day is purely out of habit? Since so much of your day is running on invisible autopilot, your absolute first step is awareness. You got to bring those hidden habits out into the light. A fantastic way to start is just by writing down your daily routine and actively labeling each thing you do as positive, negative, or neutral. You have to clearly see what's driving your day before you can ever hope to change it.
Once you're aware of what you're doing, you can create a brand new cue using this implementation intention formula. So instead of a super vague goal like, I really should read more, you make it actionable and highly specific. I will read for 15 minutes at 6 a.m. in the living room. That level of specificity is exactly what takes a habit from a nice little daydream and turns it into a real, concrete event on your schedule.
All right, Law 2, make it attractive. This is where we get to hack your brain's dopamine system. The fascinating thing about dopamine is that your brain releases it not just when you get a reward, but when you anticipate getting it. That anticipation is what creates the craving. So you can totally leverage this using a trick called temptation bundling. This is where you take a habit you really need to do and pair it with something you really want to do. For instance, make a rule that you are only allowed to binge watch your favorite trashy reality TV show while you're walking on the treadmill. Suddenly the treadmill doesn't sound so bad, right? Because it's bundled directly with the dopamine hit of your favorite show.
Next step, Law 3, make it easy. Here's the deal. Motivation is incredibly unreliable, but friction is highly predictable. If you want to build a good habit, you have to engineer your physical environment to strip away as much friction as possible. Want to eat healthier? Chop up the fruit beforehand and put it right at eye level in your fridge. On the flip side, if you want to kill a bad habit, you want to crank up the friction. Put the TV remote in a completely different room. Literally make the bad habit just super annoying to even start.
And one of the absolute best hacks for making things easy is the 2-minute rule. You take any new habit and you shrink it down until it takes less than 2 minutes to start. Reading a book for an hour becomes reading just one single page. Training for a marathon becomes simply putting on your running shoes and tying the laces. Now, I know it sounds kind of ridiculous to just put on your shoes and stop, but by making the barrier to entry this unbelievably low, you completely bypass your brain's natural resistance. If you show up every day and just put the shoes on, the actual running habit will eventually take care of itself.
Finally, Law 4, make it satisfying. As human beings, we are hardwired with a massive bias toward immediate gratification. We naturally repeat whatever feels rewarding right now, which is exactly why eating a donut usually beats eating a bowl of broccoli in the short term. To make a long-term habit actually stick, you have to artificially attach a small, immediate reward to it. Honestly, it can be as simple as getting a big red marker and physically crossing a day off a wall calendar. It sounds so simple, but the visual satisfaction of seeing that unbroken chain literally tricks your brain into feeling rewarded today, which guarantees you'll show up and do the habit tomorrow.
All right, bringing it all home with part 6. Small choices, massive results. Trusting the process.
Look, I really want to reassure you, the ultimate ideal version of yourself, it is not built through some massive, exhausting, overnight life makeover. It is built through small, practically invisible choices that you repeat every single day, just quietly compounding in the background of your life. Just like we talked about at the very beginning with our airplane. The plane doesn't need to be completely rebuilt mid-flight. It just needs a tiny 3-degree course correction applied consistently over a long enough runway. Pick just one small habit. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. And most importantly, give yourself permission to be patient with the process.
And that wraps up our explainer. But before you go, I want to leave you with one big question to chew on as you tackle the rest of your day. Remember, every single action is a vote for the person you wish to become. So, looking at the choices sitting right in front of you over these next few hours, which habit are you voting for today? Think about it, pick one tiny system you can improve right now, and start casting those votes. Thanks for hanging out and learning with me today, and keep building those systems.